Hey everybody, I am coming making this video message and I want to just give those of you who are praying for marriage and you desire marriage, or God has already confirmed to you that you will be married in this season or maybe the next upcoming season. I want to just give you all some pointers on things you should be praying about before you get married. The reason why I'm making this video message is because I know that a lot of people, they desire marriage. There are a lot of people who have never been married. There are a lot of people who are literally crying out to God about a husband or a wife because they are tired of being alone. And a lot of people desire marriage because maybe some of you all feel like that will complete you, or there will be an addition to the kingdom work that you know God has appointed and anointed you to do. Now, don't twist this video message. This is not a kingdom spouse video message at all under any circumstances. But what bothers me is that a lot of people in the kingdom of God, they do not want to tell people the truth about things that happen in marriage. They don't want to tell you all the ugly truth about certain things that people are still leaving doors open as far as the enemy goes and not closing these doors. And so after marriage, stuff pops up and it's causing tension and dissension in their marriage, and they don't understand why. We're not seeing a lot of people in the kingdom tell the men and the women who desire a spouse the truth about what they need to stop doing now while they are single before they get married. All we're seeing is a lot of people sell people a dream, feed off the vulnerability of different women and even some men, because they know a lot of them are desperate for marriage, or they know that wholeheartedly they really want to be married. They feed off of that, they thrive off of that, and they even make money off of it, and they lead people to believe that marriage is just a fairy tale and is beautiful and blissful at all times. And that is just not true. Some problems and issues that come up in marriage, they happen because before marriage, people did not stop doing certain things. They did not close certain doors. They were not honest about certain things. And so that really will put you at a level of deception. And so if you come into a marriage being deceptive, then when your spouse finds out certain things, you only have yourself to blame. So I am here to tell you all certain things that you need to be actually putting at the feet of God and praying about and fasting about and being open and honest with God about, asking him to give you the strength to cut off and stop way before you get the blessing of a husband or a wife. So I'm not going to give you all a lot. I'm just going to give you maybe a few. One main thing is this: you all have got to cut contact with exes. If you are now dating somebody that you know is about to be your spouse in the future, or you know God is dealing with you and he's already told you this particular man or that particular woman is your spouse, or you're dating now for marriage, and it has gotten to the place that you are now engaged, why are you still, if this is you, why are you still having contact with the ex? Why are you still DMing them? Why are you still inboxing them? Why are you still calling them? Why are you still text messaging an ex? They are an ex for a reason. Why are you keeping that door open? Just think about it for a minute. You have already gotten married. And so months into the marriage, your husband or your wife finds out that you're still communicating with the ex. Think about for a second how that would make them feel. Would that evoke them to jealousy? Would that make them feel insecure? Would that put them in a position where they feel like they have to now compete with your ex-boyfriend or your ex-girlfriend? Because you all have to understand, this is the frame of mind that people go to when they find out certain things like this. If you are still communicating with an ex and talking to them and you are meeting up with them, you may feel like it's innocent because you are not having sex with them. But trust me, emotional bonds and soul ties are just as bad as you having full-blown intercourse. Cut these people off. I'm not saying to hate your ex. I'm not saying to not be civil if you run into them. I'm not saying that. But a lot of you all, you casually and comfortably and sometimes openly, blatantly still have a relationship with your ex-boyfriend or your ex-girlfriend. Why do this? You keep it to high and by. You don't put an ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend in front of your husband or your wife. You don't even give your husband or your wife the inkling to even think or even come to you suggesting that you might be intimate with that ex-boyfriend or that ex-girlfriend. You have to cut them off. If the Bible also says that you have to forsake all others, okay, and you have to cleave to your husband or your wife, how do some of you all think it's okay to still have these interactions and these conversations with ex-boyfriends and ex-girlfriends? Pray about that now. Pray about that now. A lot of you all, you want the dream, you want the fantasy of marriage, but a lot of you all don't want to deal with things and get to the root of some of your issues before marriage. And some of the issues is you don't think it's anything wrong with still having contact with exes. And it is something very wrong with that. It leaves a door open for the enemy to attack later down the line. It leaves the door open. The next thing is this: you need to make sure your heart is cleansed out. Some of you all, you might not understand what I mean when I say that, but why would you marry someone knowing that you're in love with another person? Why would you do that? If you know you are still deeply in love with an ex-boyfriend or an ex-girlfriend, why are you marrying somebody now and you're laying next to them, having babies with them, having sex with them, but in your soul and in your heart? See, God looks at your heart. He looks at your heart. It's not always on the outside about deeds, okay? God is looking at what is in your heart, baby. You got to get to the core of your heart. And in your heart, if you know that you are in love with an ex-boyfriend or an ex-girlfriend, you need to be praying and asking God to purify your heart, to cleanse you of those old feelings and break the soul ties or the soul tie that you have with an ex. Some of you all, a lot of soul ties have to be broken because you've had a lot of partners. You've had a lot of relationships. You've had a lot of that. Even in the dating phase, some people, even in the Christian community, they believe, well, this is not my husband yet. This is not my wife yet. So I can still sleep with other people. I can still sleep with other people because this person, I know that's going to be my future husband or wife, but they're not my husband or wife yet. So I'm not doing anything wrong, but something is wrong with that. Because if you can't even be faithful to the man or the woman that you're dating now, why would you be faithful to them after marriage? If you don't even have the self-control now to cut all of that off. Think about that. Think about that. Purify your heart. If you know that you're still in love with an ex, you need to really be going to God and saying, God, I need you to cleanse my heart. I am still in love with so-and-so. And although we are broken up, we are not together, and I know that I'm ready to start my new life with this person, I can't help that I'm still thinking about so-and-so. So I need you, Father, to come into the chambers of my heart, and I need you to burn them out of my heart. See, there's a difference here. I'm not saying don't have love for an ex that you once had a past with, because some of you all, you share children with that ex-girlfriend or that ex-boyfriend. And so it's a difference between love and being in love. When you love somebody, you don't want hurt or harm to come to them. If you hear that they have some type of an issue in their life, you want to help them. Maybe you heard that they were sick. You pray for them. You feel bad for them because of your love for them. But on the other hand, some of you all, you are in love with that person, meaning if something goes down with you and the person you're in a relationship with now that you know is going to be your husband or your wife, you'll immediately go to that ex that you're in love with. Or maybe they rejected you, or maybe they broke up with you at one point, but you feel like if they give me another shot, or if the opportunity presents itself and I could get back with him or her, Oh, I'll run it in with the quickness. See, if you have this type of mindset, you need to be praying and asking God to cleanse your heart. Your husband or your wife in the future, they need to be the apple of your eye. They need to be the person that you are in love with. Now, people will argue you down and say, well, you could be in love with two people at the same time. I'm sorry, the devil is a liar. I don't believe that. I just don't believe that. I personally don't. But people will go back and forth and say that you can be in love with people at the same two people at the same time. I don't believe that. To me, that's just not biblical. That's you being in your flesh. That's lust involved. It's a whole bunch of other stuff involved in that. I'm not going to really touch on that, but ask God to purify your heart. If you know you are not all the way out of love with somebody that you used to be with before marriage. The next thing is, you all cannot pull certain things with your new husband or wife that you pull with people that you were sleeping with. And let me explain that to you. Some of you all have actually tried to be intimate with your husband or your wife and pull things sexually with them that you pull with an ex, because you feel like, well, they liked it, and you make the assumption that your husband or your wife is going to like it. Please understand that your new husband or your new wife is a different person. Your new husband or soon to be husband or wife, they are not your ex-girlfriend or your ex-boyfriend. They are not any of the past men or women that you dealt with. And so for you to make the assumption that things you were able to get away with and do intimately with these exes with your actual husband or wife, now you've got to take a step back and say, God, I need you to help and give me the strength on how I need to make love properly to my husband or my wife. Some of you all, you may not agree with that, but this is a very real thing. A lot of people open up doors to perversion. A lot of people are addicted to porn. A lot of people have dabbled messing with both genders, men and women. And so think about it, you got all this stuff in your spirit. You have all this stuff in your heart. You got all this stuff in your mind. And so you bring all of this stuff to the bedroom with your husband or your wife. How do you know that won't put them in a position where they feel disrespected? They feel violated. They feel ashamed. Because you are trying to pull stunts and do things with them, even talking to them a certain way, intimate wise, that they are not accustomed to. You got to go through a purification season, meaning you are not supposed to be having sex outside of marriage. You are not supposed to be fornicating. You are not supposed to be watching porn. And I say this in love. This is why Jesus Christ can deliver you and free you. See, you all also need to know this. There are so many men and women in this season that God has been keeping through abstinence, or they are still virgins, or they are celibate. And they are not masturbating. They are not watching porn or addicted to porn. They are not having sex at all. They are not doing anything sexual, and they are not allowing anything sexual to be done with them. And they have cleansed themselves. And some people, they have never lived a life of whoredom. Don't believe the hype. I don't care what these red pill people are telling you. I don't care what you hear other women say. I don't care what you hear people say on social media. People will project who they are on other people. You can't speak for every single person in the world and say that you know everybody out here has had a whole phase. The devil is a liar. All of us was not raised like that. We do not come from those type of environments. And so what I'm saying in a nutshell is that you cannot assume that your new husband or your new wife is going to be accepting of you sexually, bringing in stuff that you used to do with people that you formerly slept with. You can't. You're dealing with a totally different person. Imagine you a person that's been in the streets, you've been ripping and running, you've been around the block and back. And then God blesses you with this husband or this wife because God can do what he wants to do, but you try to use old tricks on your husband or your wife that you were with your ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriends or one night stands. You dealing with a totally different person, somebody whose mindset is not lustful. They don't have lust in their heart. They have not been around the block and back. God has kept them for the past 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. And you come with all this street stuff and you're trying to be intimate with them. It might not work because you're dealing with a higher level person as far as those things go. And you're dealing with a totally different person. And you all can feel the way you want to feel about that. But love making, the way that you make love to your husband or your wife, that is showing them how you feel about them. That is another way outside of you verbally telling them how you feel. You can talk to somebody and tell them how you feel about them after marriage by the way you make love to them. And so I'm just saying to you all, you got to go through a purification season. If your stronghold is porn, if it's masturbation, if you are conflicted about your sexuality because some things happen to you from childhood or along the way, please have a conversation with God about that. Go through your process. Marriage is not easy. Marriage is not perfect. It is inevitable that you are going to be tried by fire at some point or another in your marriage. This is a fact. But why go through things unnecessarily when you can be, as a single man or woman, putting it at the feet of God now? Receive your deliverance with no embarrassment and no shame. Go to God and say, Lord, I am having a very hard time with this. I am still struggling with this. I am still in love with this ex. I am still struggling with porn. I am still struggling with these things. And I don't want to break my future husband or wife's heart. If you are a jealous spirited person and you know that even your spouse having a conversation with the opposite sex would drive you up the wall or into a tailspin, you need to be laying these things at the feet of God. You need to be praying about it. You need to be praying against it. You need to be honest about it. You need to talk to your future husband or wife about it when time permits. But don't be deceptive. So many people will marry somebody and they are very deceptive. They do not tell them certain things about themselves. They do not let them know, babe, I struggle with this. I had this going on in my past life before you walked into this chapter of my life. Let's pray together. You need to seek out even some type of therapy. Talk to a therapist about certain things. And this is what I want to see the body of Christ talking more about, because they don't do it. They tell you all the beautiful, blissful things, and that's okay, because marriage is beautiful if you're married to the right person. But people have to be more open. They have to be more honest. They have to be more real. A lot of these dirty, dark, ugly secrets should not be popping up 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, 8 months, 1, 2 years after you've been married. And your husband is looking at you like, why did you never tell me that? Your wife is looking at you like, why did you never tell me that? Oh, you still having conversations with your ex-girlfriend? Oh, you still having conversations with your ex-boyfriend? I had no idea you were still communicating with them. Oh, you're still in love with them? Do you see what I mean? Get this stuff ironed out, guys. God is going to help you. He is available. But go through a purification season. Get the old way that you used to do things with exes, even intimately, sexually. Don't assume that you will always be able to handle your husband or your wife the exact same way sexually that you handle your ex with, or how you handled them and dealt with them. You can't, especially if God sees fit to bless you with an abstinent, celibate, or a virgin husband or wife. I'm sorry, you dealing with a whole nother level of a human being. Seriously. You don't understand when somebody has spent many years of their life restraining themselves, cleansing themselves, cleansing their ear gates, cleansing their eye gates, not giving in to their flesh to do the certain nasty things that they want to do, because there is no good thing in the flesh. The Bible makes that very clear. You got to understand, if you are still fornicating and you dating and you know you close to marriage, all of this stuff is going to leak out after marriage if you don't get a hold on it now. Tell God, ask God to purify you, ask God to cleanse you. Tell God, you know what, as a man, tell God, you know, Father, I know that you blessed me with this woman. She is celibate or she's a virgin. Lord, just show me how to make love to my wife. I've had a lot of experiences with different women, but I know this is a different woman. Her mindset is different. The way she views sex may be different. And ladies, you do the same thing too. Honestly, just because you was out here and you was painting the town red and you had a whole bunch of men and a whole bunch of fun, pardon me, you may have been a hood rat at one point and you feel like, oh yeah, I'm married now, I'm finna do, you know. And see, I know what the world does. The world would say, oh yeah, well, that's good for a person to be like that because they got all the experiences. And so when they get married, they could do all that stuff with their husband or their wife. They like that. They want you to put it down. But I'm telling you all, you cannot make that assumption, because some people, their mindset and how they view love making and how they view sex, it is not at the level you view it. They've gone through a season of purification, major purification. And so you coming to them with all of these things that may make them angry, that may make them feel very uncomfortable, that may make them feel violated. If it doesn't apply to you, then keep it moving. But you all have got to stop categorizing everybody and speaking from just your personal experience, feeling like just because everybody else that you dealt with liked how you walk, like how you talk, like how you put it down when you were sexually active with them, that's what you're going to be able to pull in a marriage. Marriage is holy. A covenant under Jesus Christ is holy. And that's real talk. And more people need to tell you all the truth. That's the video message. Well, guys, it's time for me to go because I have some other things to do. The Lord willing, I will be back with another video message. If any one of you have taken offense to anything I spoke about in this video message, it's okay. It's all right. I'm not worried about it. I am not concerned because I know you will forgive me in the morning.